Thank you so much for spending your Saturday with us. I'm Matt Holzaffel. Peerview Health Center in Helena offered drive-through coronavirus testing to the public today. M10's Lexi Aguayo went through the process to show us how it all works.
Peerview Health Center transformed their parking lot into a drive-through system for COVID-19 tests. It is part of a new initiative set by Governor Bullock. It is free and paid for by the state of Montana.
The test is for people who do not have symptoms and do not have any known exposure to COVID-19. So we're really trying to rule out that we have COVID-19 in the community that we don't know about.
Upon arrival, you will need to sign a consent form and pass a pre-screening at Station 1. Station 2 is the actual test. Masks are not required throughout the process.
As you can see, folks with children or multiple people in the car can step off to the side here to test their young ones or take more time to do the test.
So this is the swab. It just has to go into each nostril. I'll open it for you and have you grab the handle end, and then I'm going to have you put the furry end in about ½ an inch in one nostril, swirl around for about 10 seconds, switch sides, do it on the other nostril.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'll take it from you. There you go.
Thank you very much.
So that end, the top end will go in.
All right. All right, and you guys probably do not want to see this.
Peerview says you will receive results after 5 to 7 days by a phone call. In all, Peerview had enough to test 800 people on Saturday. In Helena, I'm Alexi Guayo, MTN News.
And there'll be more testing available at the Peerview Health Center next Saturday from 8 a.m. until noon. Well, showers and thunderstorms moving through the area. Our Storm Director Weather Team is here to tell us more. Grant Garland joins us now. Grant?
All right, well, Matt, you're exactly right. We have a lot of showers and thunderstorms that are moving throughout Montana, and we are looking at already a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for those in and around Glasgow, looking at Garfield, Macomb, as well as Roosevelt and Valley counties. And this goes into effect now until around midnight. So heads up, we do have somewhat of a long next couple of hours as we head into this Saturday evening, but don't worry, we'll stay here with you. Taking a look at showers and thunderstorms really making their way all throughout the area. We're going to go ahead and zoom in on here for those that are around the Glasgow area. We've got this big thunderstorm that's making its way towards the north, impacting places in around Jordan and Circle, moving towards Glasgow and Wolf Point. So heads up, definitely want to stay weather aware out there. Also taking a look down towards the capital, we are looking at thunderstorms impacting areas right around Boulder, making their way towards Helena, Wolf Creek. And we're looking at also a lot of rain showers here in the Great Falls area. So we do have a lot of rain. How much rain we're expecting, as well as when will these storms be out of here? Well, we're going to talk about all that and more coming up. But for now, Matt, back to you, sir.
All right, thanks, Grant. The killing of George Floyd by police officers in Minneapolis ignited protests around the nation. As we inch closer to our third week of protests, the Minneapolis City Council agreed with the state to make sweeping changes, including banning the use of chokeholds. Jamie Yukis with CBS News takes us around the country.
In Minneapolis, the memorial site still lives where George Floyd died after a white police officer held him down with a knee to the neck.
George Floyd! Louder! George Floyd!
Now the protesters' calls for change are being heard. On Friday, in a virtual meeting, the city council voted to ban the use of neck restraints. They're also requiring officers who witness unauthorized use of force to report it from the scene and intervene verbally and physically.
I will say that George Floyd's death weighs heavily on me, and I know every elected official in Minneapolis. We could have done more, and we should have done more.
The protesters have asked for the police department to be defunded.
Yes.
Do you think that should happen?
I have long supported shifting funds away from our police department into community-based strategies. I think our police department needs dramatic structural change, and that we need a whole new way of doing public safety in our city.
In Buffalo, New York, near City Hall, 2 officers involved in shoving a 75-year-old protester to the ground, causing serious injury, were suspended without pay.
You see that video, and it disturbs your basic sense of decency and humanity. When I saw the video, I got sick to my stomach.
But now, in solidarity with the suspended officers, All 57 members of Buffalo's emergency response team have resigned from the unit that responds to crowd control situations, but not from the force.
Everyone peacefully protesting in the city of Buffalo will be protected.
While in the country's capital on Friday, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser had Black Lives Matter painted on the street to honor protesters who demanded an end to police brutality, and renamed a street leading to the White House Black Lives Matter Plaza.
Welcome all peaceful protesters to Washington, D.C.
In a letter, the mayor urged President Trump to withdraw National Guard troops, brought in days ago when some protests turned violent. Friday, he doubled down on his decision.
You have to dominate the streets. You can't let what's happening happen. It's called dominate the streets.
Later, President Trump slammed Bowser on Twitter, calling her incompetent.
You know the thing about the pot and the kettle?
We'll have more from protests across Montana tonight at 10, including from this afternoon's protest in Kalispell. Coming up, both Helena High and Capitol High held their class of 2020 graduation ceremonies in person today. We'll take you there after the break.
Montana Television Network. The 5:30 news continues on Montana's news leader.
Montana's election this week saw a record number of voters for a primary, and Montanans set the general election stage in one big race after another. MTN's chief political reporter Mike Dennison has been covering the campaigns. Tomorrow on Face the State, he'll take a deeper dive on Tuesday's results and the election this fall. Mike will be joined by a pair of political science professors who specialize in Montana politics, David Parker, the chair of the Poli-Sci department at Montana State University in Bozeman, and Jeremy Johnson, associate professor at Carroll College. Most of the discussion Sunday will focus on what to look for in the general election, particularly on the big races for U.S. Senate, Governor, and U.S. House. The race getting the most attention this year may be the U.S. Senate contest between Republican Senator Steve Daines and Democratic Governor Steve Bullock. Professor Parker said it will be a multifaceted race that could turn on many issues. Faith the State will air right here on MTN Sunday morning at 9:30. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Both Helena High and Capitol High held their class of 2020 graduation ceremonies in person today. Helena Public School leaders worked with the Lewis and Clark Public Library to meet all health requirements to have the in-person graduations. All students wore a mask, and they were only allowed to bring 2 guests with them into the stadium. The graduation was held at Nelson Stadium at Carroll College. Helena High went first at 8 a.m.
Well, I feel extraordinarily thankful, and this is something that our community said, if at all possible, we wanted to do. So I'm happy that we're able to deliver it.
Capitol High graduated next in the same location at 11 a.m. Extra guests stood outside the stadium to view the graduations. Helena Public Schools offered anyone to view the graduation virtually as well. If you missed the live event, Helena Public Schools will post the completed graduation ceremony online.
Well, when it comes to rain, we're looking at possibly receiving over an inch of rain in a lot of locations from now through Monday. We're going to talk about all this and more coming up after this break. Well, welcome back, everybody. Hope that you have had a pleasant Saturday. We are looking at a severe thunderstorm watch, though, for some viewers in our area. Right now, looking at Garfield, McComb, Roosevelt, and Valley County, all in this severe thunderstorm watch. And this is all due to the showers and thunderstorms we've been seeing all throughout the afternoon, rising along this warm front, causing the potential for golf ball-sized hail, as well as damaging wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour. And we are also looking at heavy and frequent lightning with rain. So right now across the board, over the last 3 hours, we've been looking at just this rain shield moving up towards Canada, as well as down towards Helena, Missoula, Kalispell. All in all, we are getting a lot of activity, and we're seeing right now, specifically with this storm, right and around the Wolf Point, as well as northeast of Jordan and northwest of Circle. This storm is making its way towards Glasgow, packing a punch. So heads up, if you are out there, please make sure that you are staying away from windows and that you are also listening to the weather radio, listen to us. We aren't expecting, we aren't looking at any tornadic situations. These thunderstorms are just capable of producing large hail with damaging wind gusts. But taking it towards the capital, we're looking at a lot of showers and thunderstorms, a lot of lightning too associated with this thunderstorm, making its way towards Helena as well as McDonald Pass. And we're going to continue to see this all throughout the night. And as we head throughout the next couple of hours, we're going to potentially see this kind of blob make its way towards the Electric City. As we head on up towards Havre, though, not really seeing any activity then right around 7:30, but don't worry, it is on its way. We could also be looking at these thunderstorms making their way towards Glasgow by around 11 p.m. And as they do, they're going to be able to kind of gain in intensity from the daytime heating. So that's why we're also looking at that severe thunderstorm watch being extended until midnight. As we head through into the morning, though, we're going to be looking at kind of a partly sunny situation, not really seeing any storms throughout the first part of the day, but then right around 7 p.m. we actually start to see the rain moving back into the area, and that's going to be the continuing trend as we head into tomorrow night. And as we go throughout the morning, we're also going to see some of this blue stuff. I hate to say it, it's June, but yes, snow. Now, this snow that we're looking at is not going to be impacting people in the lower levels, but we could be looking at folks right around that live right around 5,500 feet and above. We could be looking at 3 to 6 inches of snow. So if you're living in places like McDonald Pass as well as around Kings Hill Pass, we're going to be looking at the chance to see that. So heads up, we do have a lot of weather making its way in throughout the area for the next several days. And by Monday morning, I mean, look at this. We're going to be looking at having to deal with some wet roads if you are going to be going out for your morning commute. So definitely want to take things slow over the next several days because we're going to be looking at wave after wave after wave of rain in the forecast. How much rain can we be looking at? That's also the problem. We're going to potentially see almost 2 inches of rain here in Great Falls, over 1 inch in Helena, and a lot of these places too, just make sure because of the snowpack and everything, if you live in an area that's right around a stream, well, you just need to make sure that you're staying weather aware, that you're looking out and you're keeping a gauge on the water rising. Out towards Havre, almost 1.33 inches of rain. Glasgow, close to 1 inch of rain too. Out towards Jordan, Lewistown, everybody's going to get a good soaking. And not only are we having to deal with rain, we're also having to deal with these winds. I mean, by around 10:30 tonight, 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts here in the Electric City, 30 to 40 in Cutbank, 10 to 20 not so bad in Lewistown, but out towards Glasgow looking at 30 to 40 mile an hour winds too. And continuing throughout the evening, throughout the morning rather, 40 to 50 in Havre. Some locations could see even stronger wind gusts. The good news is that as we go into tomorrow afternoon, things should finally start to settle down. But taking a look, 64 tomorrow, 58 on Monday. Have those umbrellas though with you, Matt, because we are looking at a rainy start to our work week.
All right, thanks, Kurt. When we're not looking at the threat of rain, there's no better way to cool off in the summer than a dip in the pool. But with coronavirus still a concern, how can swimmers make sure they're protected at the pool? MTN's Lindsay Hyatt met with the Belt Pool Corporation earlier today to find out.
With community pools opening just in time for summer, many of you are wondering how to stay safe while swimming. One community swimming pool in Belt decided the best way was to keep their water lovers waiting.
We did push opening by a week to avoid exposure.
Belt Pool Corporation president said the staff also has strict sanitation protocols in place.
And we already follow a pretty strict guideline for sanitation. All the toilets and all of the benches, all the locker rooms are hosed down every closing with a disinfectant and then hosed down after that.
And the pool itself is cleaned nightly.
We are also stepping up our game and following whatever the state regulations are.
Those regulations include social distancing while swimming or poolside.
We'll separate families. We do have a whole back area here. We are installing a pergola this year, so there will be that shade provided, but there is plenty of seating and chairs too.
With access to more than enough room and superior sanitation, the Belt community can get back into the pool in no time. In Belt, Lindsay Hyatt, MTN News.
And the Belt Community Pool opens for the summer this Monday and will be open to swimmers daily from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Coming up, athletic officials at Montana Tech say the George Floyd protests are creating a foundation to inspire much-needed change.
By the Montana Television Network. The 5:30 news continues on Montana's news leader.
We rely on those who have the ability to make their voices heard to bring about change in a world that needs it. As a staple in the Butte community, the athletic staff and leaders at Montana Tech say the foundation to inspire that much-needed change is there. But as MTN's Dom Tibbetts explains, the priorities right now are simply to listen so that others can have their voices heard.
When we're going through this as a country and a society, it really changed your perspective on what's important and what your issues are on a day-to-day basis and where your focuses should be.
The sudden and tragic death of George Floyd has hit close to home at Montana Tech, which now presents an opportunity for administrators and coaches to hear the concerns and suffering their African-American student athletes are going through.
Leadership sometimes is just shutting your mouth and listening, and not necessarily having things to say all the time, but listening to your players, to your peers, to your staff. And I think this is a great starting point, just to listen and to admit that we need to do better.
Montana Tech has never been a stranger to inclusion, leading from the examples of past ore diggers like Calvin Sampson, who spread a message of inclusion and understanding to a community that often doesn't have to live with the reality of what life is like for African Americans elsewhere.
And it's something that we're trying to live up to, that not only the standard that he set when he coached here, but also the standard in which the way in which he lives his life. One of inclusion, compassion. I mean, we had him here on campus last fall, and he was meeting with our team, and just the standards that he has in his program are the standards that we want to have in our program as well. So we admire him, we respect him, we love everything that he has to say, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we live the legacy that he's established here.
Above all, the Montana Tech community understands right now its priorities lie within all of their student athletes dealing with an indescribable amount of emotions to make sure they know full well that they are more than just a student athlete to them.
And then going forward, I think that just kind of goes to everything that we're trying to do here at Tech, where trying to build relationships with kids that know that we care about them as people, not as just football players or basketball players or whatever it may be.
We share relationships. The relationship's the most important piece of our program. And so, when one of our members suffers, everybody suffers.
That's our family, and we need to pull together as a family and be there for all members of our family, especially those that are really feeling this pain.
In Butte, Dom Tibbetts, MTN Sports.
There's one well-known Montana coach who has a perspective on race that many of us do not. And during this period of civil unrest, he's speaking up about what it's like to be black in America and what needs to happen if change is to come. Here's MTN's Kyle Hansen.
Like the rest of America, Travis DeCuire has watched as the nation has protested and cried out over the death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police officers.
It's hard to explain because I've been seeing it my entire life, and I think that's the perspective that a lot of people just don't understand.
DeCuire paved the way as the first African-American man or woman to be hired in a head coaching position at either Montana or Montana State when he arrived in 2014. Of late, DeCuire has been vocal on Twitter about what is happening in America, knowing full well that he works in a mostly white state, and DeCuire holds a leadership position in the state rarely held by minorities. He said the biggest factor is educating and teaching kids viewpoints outside of their comfort zones.
When you talk about a community that, like the one I work in and live in, you look at Missoula, Bozeman, Great Falls, Billings as the metropolitan cities, Helena of Montana, and you really look at the numbers, it's very easy for a student to grow up, get through high school, and not sit in the classroom with a black student. And so there's a perspective that they'll never get.
There are those who don't want to listen or acknowledge change, but there are others who do and just need guidance around what to do to enforce positive change because they don't grow up around minorities like those in metropolitan areas. So they miss those viewpoints. But avoiding ugly conversations, as some do, only adds to the problem.
And so we need enough people to admit what the why is, what the issue is, what the problem is, to continue to move forward. We need to make sure that more people understand why.
DeCuire said Missoula itself has come a long way since the 90s when he was a student athlete to now, saying the community opens its arms to minority athletes. A lot of Grizz athletes come from urban areas and experience culture shocks in Montana, but he sees Montana as home and welcoming to him and his family. Speaking on issues outside of sports, DeCuire knows backlash is unavoidable, but he says that backlash halts change and growth and forces those with good ideas to remain silent. Educating people is the long-term goal, but voting is a short-term solution, and DeCuire says fixing the issues needs to be the focal point.
Until we start dealing with the issues more than dealing with the responses, we'll start having some change, some growth, and we will become a country that might actually be great. Right now, it doesn't feel that way because we're fighting each other.
In Missoula, Kyle Hansen, MTN Sports.
And DeCuire added that while education is the long-term answer, voting is something people can do right now to make sure change and solutions happen. We're back after this.
Heads up, a severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for Valley County until 12 a.m. tonight due to chance for severe thunderstorms bringing with them damaging wind gusts as well as isolated hail. We're looking at a rainy start to our work week, not only in Great Falls, but also for Helena. Also a breezy next couple of days, so yeah, have that umbrella with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching. Stay dry, and we'll see you back here at 10 o'clock.